Sorry. Should I continue?
Sorry about that. You go ahead.
Okay. Cool. So yeah, this means that when we are standing together as one humanity, we should stand together without judging others or their views. So we are all at different places in our lives, but also in our day. It's crucial to be open and tolerant to anyone because you may not comprehend what they are going through. And that is okay. In the last year, I had a realization that people using a product and people who seek support are very different from each other. These humans you design for might be happy with your product or feature because you did the necessary research and validation. But what we have failed to realize as a design community is that your product personas are very different from your support seeking personas. So now in the chat, share your thoughts or examples of where you had an issue on a platform you use and tried some of the support features to resolve your issue. Consider if using the product was okay, it's okay. And how was the experience of trying to resolve whatever issue you may have encountered, like when you were seeking support, trying to contact, submitting a support ticket, and how that process was. Also consider whether you think the product team of that platform could have prevented this issue ever from happening anyway, without you needing to seek support. Yeah, Google Docs. Contacting such a big company is really hard to get to a real human, actually get the support you need. Yeah, so let's move on. So first, let's jump into design experiences. We aim to make it as easy as possible for users to achieve a certain goal, where features for support are quite standard these days. Support features are there to support users outside of the product journey that you're on. Let's look at a couple of standard features. There are two main categories: features that help users to help themselves, and features that put you in contact with human support. Here are some quick examples. On Twitter, if you select the More nav item, you'll see the Help Center in that menu. This Help Center, like most others, then opens in a new tab and consists of articles that you should read in order to help yourself. Zoom has a chatbot that is very similar to a knowledge base, but uses logic and AI to be very conversational when providing you with the information that you're seeking. You can also be more contextual during parts of the product or feature where data or research shows that users might need help, and add an inline feature like the common forget password feature, or a simple element that brings up a dialog box with a short piece of info around what that line item is about. Like this example on the Luno app confirmation screen, the little question mark opens up a short description of what the service charge is about. Then when it comes to human-assisted support, live chat is one of the more expensive features, as you would need more staff to be available. Another common type is submitting support tickets. Here's an example of one of Luno's forms and the support inbox where your conversations with the support staff will live. But when we look at support this way, as providing product features that is there to help users with queries and issues, it's all a passive form of help. In other words, the customer has an issue, then needs to do the work in figuring out what it is and where to seek help. As a customer enters that problem space, we can dissect it slightly into two parts: encountering an issue and starting the process of trying to resolve it. The first part will cause a feeling of discomfort or unhappiness. Anxiety chows at your cognitive resources. So depending on the human, their perspectives and environment, they will enter the process of resolving the issue with reduced problem-solving ability, naturally, and can easily enter that red zone where they might start losing their temper with a support agent. You see, the red zone is a place where humans go often. It doesn't matter what your life is like. It's all those factors of who you are and who you are that day, and even who you are in that time of that day when something happens. The red zone can be different for some, but essentially it is when your body goes into a fight or flight mode. In that mode, you might experience decreased problem-solving ability, be very impatient, defensive, and struggle to process information, whether it is from an article or from a support agent trying to help you. The conclusion, it's really hard to self-help. Just having the standard support features doesn't mean that you are providing your users with a good experience. And many times it doesn't mean that you're helping them at all. We're all complicated humans, as I tried to explain in the beginning. Being in a problem space can't be fixed with more features that have good UX. It will be harder to use them, whether your user realizes it or not. Let's look at some hypothetical examples. Meet Megat. He's going through a very rough personal journey and saw how meditation could help him heal and cope with life. He spent some time or some very little money that he has in purchasing this meditation app, but today the app refuses him to sign in. The very thing that is actually there to help him cope with life. Another example, meet Jan. Her beloved pet needed to have emergency vet care. The vet bill was large amounts and she didn't have the budget for it. She was worried, stressed at the thought of losing her best friend. Luckily, she has pet insurance with an app to claim her money from them. But today, as she is trying to use the app for the first time, she can't seem to manage, can't seem to figure it out while she's being stressed and upset. So by improving our support features, we help our customers navigate their way to solutions. Whether it will really help them or not, this is what I'm scrutinizing here. It might help them, but they may still have a very stressful experience. So if you look at this hypothetical team structure of this imaginary meditation app company, it could look a little like this. A big engineering department touching most areas, a product design also. The help center doesn't really get that much attention from design or engineering as the rest, because they've used a third-party platform for it. It makes sense. In many cases, it's the most cost-effective strategy. With so many high-quality platforms out there, it's easy to plug into one of them and tick the help center on a checklist as done, sorted. My help center personas are accounted for. There are many very high-quality ones, and these platforms most likely are used for their CRM capabilities for managing support queries and come with an out-of-the-box knowledge base and sometimes even a chat feature. Zendex is one of the popular ones here in South Africa. By just making sure there are articles to read and a way to contact support doesn't mean the job is done. As we've established earlier, it's really hard to self-help. Humans are complicated, and I'm proposing that designers should start creating support personas in addition to the standard personas they design for when working on features. Let's look at these imaginary personas from the meditation app example. Jane, Lloyd, and Ella. Designers should reference and use these personas when designing features on the meditation app. It's really important to keep focus on these personas. Jane needs reminders and motivation, but he's tech savvy. Lloyd is struggle with positivity and requires that step-by-step guidance. And Ella is a pro user. She likes tracking her activities and she onboards others. So in that way, you plan your features and you design to make sure they are happy. But with the right type of research, you will realize that the standard personas are quite different from the people they become when entering the problem space. So it's important to have support personas as well, like Ingrid, Johannes, Lorenzo. Ingrid is very impatient and she enters that red zone quite fast. Johannes wants shortcuts. He doesn't really read, he scans. And Lorenzo has these feelings of being misunderstood or he catastrophizes everything. Standard personas look at the target market and the current user's need and how they might interact with the product, whereas support personas come from a place of complexity, those temporary phases of fight or flight modes, and those limited cognitive resources. But with deeper investigation, you might be able to merge these two types of personas and consider these deep-rooted human complexities will be a standard practice in the company. That is the goal. Remember how the departments look like? If you think about it, users might experience issues in any part of the meditation app, and each team pick it up individually through data. Each team is responsible for their own activities as well, but all those users can only go to one small area, the help center, for the same type of support. All the problems go to the help center. So all the issues coming out from different departments or teams essentially is the help center's issues. So rather than relying on the stock standard support features out there that provide the same level of support to all different complicated human users, I want to propose a different approach, an outcome-based approach to support research, which will prioritize efforts in each common issue individually, working towards that smooth issue resolution experience with customers, and then reducing the likelihood of them entering the red zone. This means there has to be a shift from being product-centric to being customer-centric within the teams that work on support and help centers. Product-centric teams focus on features, and customer-centric focus on experiences. Let's look at the product-centric teams. It is important to note that I'm not saying being a product-centric is bad. It's vital for building and working towards the best product. The focus is just different. They look at new features, they reward new launches, focus on usability tests, and each team is responsible for their own activities, as I explained with the meditation app example. But being customer-centric means that the focus is on building a customer experience and looking for those needs to fill and problems to solve. They dive deep into qualitative research by doing lots of customer interviews and leveraging those deep insights. A customer-centric team feels jointly responsible for the customer experience of the entire product. When product teams need to gain insight about their users, they often rely on usability testing. While very useful, it has one crucial downside. Usability testing don't allow us to see how a user interacts with a product in context. Working on improving the usability of the support features may not give you the most real results because the respondents need to be in that problem space themselves to really react the way you need them to in order to gain that deeper understanding. To further illustrate this, let's look at how a typical support feature usability test generally look like. Let's say the data showed a problem on a specific screen. You designed a solution for it and want to test it and see if it solves the problem. You ask them, please imagine that you want to, and you insert the scenario in there, then introduce the problem they might face, and then ask them what they would do next to try and solve it. But actually, really what you're hoping is that they would really know exactly where the help center is located, then calmly navigate themselves there, find the exact right article to read, and follow the steps perfectly. Now, I want you to think of a time when you encountered an issue on your banking app, and you had to try and find a solution either yourself or by contacting support. Do you remember that feeling before and during and after? Oops. Now I want you to put yourselves in the shoes of a test participant. You're being asked to imagine a hypothetical issue on a banking app that you are not using. So how close would your responses be in the test versus your real emotional reactions in real life? When it's your own real money versus some imaginary scenario money. You see, there is this cognitive bias called functional fixedness, and is when people fail to imagine a product or experience in a novel way. At Luno, my team and I tried to do usability tests for possible solutions around a very specific issue our customers were facing. But we realized that we were failing to get that real and actual emotional response a customer might have in real life. All those tests failed, and we couldn't take it seriously. And another thing is that the stock standard features don't consider is that one solution does not fit all the types of different issues and the different scenarios that they might experience. Different issues also evoke different reactions and responses, all based on that human, the complexity of him or her and the day and the part of the day, their needs, their fears, their wants. It's all very different. So how do we then find out how to actually help our customers? If ideating solutions and doing usability tests with prototypes won't give us the correct contextual insights, we can do this by diving deep into customer dramas. Dramas is the word I use instead of the phrase customer support experience journeys, just for short. You do this by doing lots of qualitative research interviews with humans that have actually gone through them in real life. In short, the method for this is to first identify which drama or dramas you need to dive deep into. You can find out from the customer success team, which is the support center, which is the reason users contact them the most. Then you try to recruit them and invite them to do interviews with you, where you will then document their journey. To accurately document it, you need the most amount of context from that user that is possible and ethical for them to share. Please remember to mention that the information they are sharing with you is highly confidential and will only be shared amongst direct team members anonymously. So first you want to know what the milieu was, the physical and mental environment of the customer at the time, and then ask them to take you through the drama step by step, so you can create a simplified timeline of events and emotions. So let's look at another hypothetical example. Meet Stevie. She is a highly intelligent student, top of her class, and very tech savvy. She paid for the entire bill at a restaurant, and her friends paid her back by sending money to her virtual wallet on a money app that they are using regularly. And just for some background, Stevie did a money withdrawal in that app of a large amount earlier that month when she got paid for a freelance gig. Because she doesn't use the app that often, she wasn't up to scratch on withdrawal limits and did not realize that it was actually a thing and that it was reached on her account. So the next day of meeting up with her friends, Stevie wanted to withdraw that money into her bank account. She was on a distracting and busy train on her way back home. Her stop was 2 stops away. So when she tried to do the withdrawal in that distracting space, the money app gave her a notification that a limit was reached. She didn't really process what it was about, and thus her drama ensued. A drama timeline can look like this. The beginning where it all started was with the notification of a limit. Then she quickly thought that she could quit the app and open it again. So this is based on a real interview that I did, but it's also generalized, so I don't reveal any details of that real human. But this happened in real life. She thought that restarting the app could reset this limit. But when she tried to sign back in, she repeatedly typed in the wrong password. And as people were bumping into her, etc., in that process, she also accidentally created a new account with a social sign up on the sign-in screen, which revealed a 0 balance on her account, which freaked her out. She tapped the help icon and reached and searched for a help center article about sudden 0 balances. She didn't find anything because it's not really applicable. Then her stop came and she had to continue with her day. So the next day, when she cooled down, she looked around on the app, tried finding other ways of support, just to find that the app doesn't have live chat, So she submitted a support ticket. But now she was in such a foul mood that the normally happy and friendly, intelligent Stevie snapped at an old lady on the train. I mean, anything money related makes people a little bit extra crazy, right? So the next day, the day after that, she decided to log into her account via her laptop because sometimes bigger screens have more features or they're just easier to use. And because her computer remembered her original login details, she managed to log in to the original account that showed the balance she thought was missing. Because it was a couple of days later, the limit was not applicable anymore, and she did her withdrawal without any problems. Then she decided to never use that app again because stressing about money was not a good look on her. Looking at Stevie's entire journey, you'll see she entered the red zone quite soon in the drama. And she did attempt to use support features, which couldn't help her. Her drama happened without anybody from this company even realizing it. And another thing to consider when you look at the drama from this holistic experience or perspective is that even though Stevie's problem was withdrawal limit related, she caused many other issues for herself in the process, in that red zone. And those individual teams will pick up in their team metrics, but will only look at the part that they were responsible for. So as a company, nobody will realize that if the limit issue was addressed, the data that came in from her failed password attempts, the duplicate accounts, the viewing support articles won't even be there. So by doing these types of drama deep dives, you can pick up on these types of issues, and with enough evidence, you can approach those specific product teams responsible for that something to look at improving it for Stevie or people like Stevie. Now we can start thinking out of the box of innovating ways of helping users like Stevie. This is the fun part. And also very roughly and hypothetically, Stevie relates to two of the support personas when she entered the red zone, she's like Ingrid, very quickly into the red zone, and she's a little bit like Johannes, where he just scans content, he doesn't read it properly, and process the information fully. So with her drama originating from that withdrawal limit notification, what can we do about it? We should then be asking questions like, should the notification dialog box be replaced with a different component? Will extra friction help prevent customers from going down this destructive path? Will extra awareness and education around limits help prevent this from happening? I feel that this is the type of support that is real and focused on a more diverse group of humans. That makes being a product designer in the support space very exciting because there are so much to uncover and to do to support fellow complicated humans. Thank you. That was the talk. I just want to mention that the pixel art characters I made with a Figma file called Pixel Buddy that you can find in the Figma community section. Are there any questions?
Yeah, thank you so much for this wonderful talk, Nicole. I definitely learned a lot, so I'm sure our attendees did too. If anyone wants to ask any questions, feel free to drop them in the chat, and we could get started with a Q&A session here.
I hope you guys are enjoying the designathon. I'm very curious to see what's happening.
Oh, also, you're also able to raise your hand or unmute now if you would like to just speak up.
Okay, Charles, what is your favorite kind of user challenge to tackle when it comes to developing solutions? I think it's the obscure ones. Like I tried to explain, it's the ones that nobody realized existed because they were looking at it in such a product-centric way. And when you zoom out a bit into the customer experience and you do those qualitative deep dives and you realize, oh, it's this withdrawal limit thing that's the issue, not failed password attempts, etc. It was just a couple of humans in your support personas that are most likely in distracting environments when they try to do withdrawals, like trains or in having a baby, you're carrying a baby with one hand and you're trying to do a withdrawal with the other hand. And yeah, so finding that obscure problems is quite a kick, because then you really get to help people. Even if the solution is quite simple, like changing a component, it means that you're helping those complex humans. And that is what I'm doing. This is the exciting part of product design in the support space. It's really helping them, not just pushing another feature towards them. Okay, during qualitative research, approximately how many users are interviewed to meet a good sample size? Well, qualitative interviews are expensive because it takes a lot of time, depending on the company that you work with and for and the resources, etc. Trying to recruit the interviewees is not easy. So it takes a lot of time, which makes it quite expensive. So there is a general rule in research that anything more than 5 becomes a bit open to interpretation. So I think a safe number is 5 qualitative interviews if there are data that is revealing a bigger problem. So like I said, you can ask your customer success team, what is the reason they get contacted the most? And it could be at Luno, it could be that people are struggling to log into their accounts or duplicate accounts. That's one of the contact reasons we get. So then we try to recruit those very specific people that had a duplicate account, a conversation with support and had it resolved. And I speak to that very specific people about, okay, cool. Now tell me about your drama. Then I'll be able to really understand how I could help you. So 5 seems like just a few, but bigger sample sizes will be way too expensive and yeah, probably too messy. The numbers will get too much. Yeah. Who is your role model in design, research, or in general? Sure. I'm a big fan of Frank Bach. He's the senior designer at Headspace, which is probably why I had the meditation app example top of mind, but it was not at all based on Headspace. Yeah, so Frank Bach is really cool. I think he's Canadian. But I'm also a very spiritual person, so I have a lot of spiritual teachers like Ram Dass, and so a lot of empathy comes from being very sensitive and open to inputs from others and observing others. And I think spirituality kind of helps with that. Yeah. Any more questions?
I kind of have a question as well, but I'm kind of curious, as you're working in the space, that obviously, like in the past years of like accumulating this experience, you've come up with the solutions that, you know, people have gone through these customer dramas and you've created solutions for them. So what have been your favorite solutions to kind of develop these past couple of years while you're working in this space?
I think the most recent one, because it was not a big group that had this bad experience, because we have lots of, in the crypto space, we have to be very, very careful with other people's money. We are trying to be very to regulate it, be anti-fraud, anti-money laundering. We're trying to be extremely safe. But in that part of the world, it means that we put a lot of cautionary locks on people's accounts when we think there might be something wrong, to protect their funds, because we don't know if this person was convinced by somebody to be their mule. Money mules are also quite hectic, and we try to protect our customers from that. But if we think there might be a case like that, we place cautionary locks on their accounts to keep it safe. So what happens in some cases, the app only gave a snack bar that said, can't do this, contact support, with no link to support, no context, no nothing. It was such a bad experience. They didn't receive an email, so their sends were locked and they had no idea why. And to contact support is also not an easy process, because we do want to encourage people to look for answers in the help center. And yeah, so recently we interviewed some of them, which was hard to find because it wasn't a big group of people, but it made me feel so happy because we are still helping a group of people, which isn't like massive on the data and the metrics. It means that we really care for our customers, and that is great. So we just developed a nice flow, as in give the right enough context and the steps that you need to take in order to unlock it. And for us to make sure that you are safe, you are the person you're saying you are, and we can unlock it again, and feeling that, you know, your funds are still safe. So yeah, the obscure problems and the minority is also very, very important, and it's fun to help everybody. Hello, Nicole. Thank you for your insights. Would you say anyone can break into UXR and learn these skills through projects? Or are you, user experience research? What exactly is the question there? Or do you specifically need a more research-focused background? Oh, I see. You see, I honestly don't think that you need like a qualification in research to be able to do the research in your team. It really is a sense of realizing what the actual problem is and trying to understand the complexities of humans. And it's really hard to quantify qualitative research, but it is possible. And I am doing like a UX psychology course on the Interaction Design Foundation, but it's not the be all and end all, I would say, because how many user experience designers were something else completely? I used to be a sound engineer and now I'm a product designer. So, and I'm also mentoring a girl who is an interior designer and she wants to become a product designer. I feel that there is so much resources out there and amazing mentors and co-workers or whatever the case may be. And if you are interested and you have the evidence to show your capacity and your intelligence around empathy and understanding people and what type of questions to ask. I mean, there's a certain amount of training that you could do, but I wouldn't say having a psychology or a cognitive science degree is necessary to break into the research space. Although it might be helpful.
We have another question in the chat. Do you experience challenges attracting target audience you need for your product when conducting qualitative research?
As in recruiting the interviewees for those specific dramas? Yes. Because the most recent one that we did with the locked accounts, it wasn't a big group. So, and also you can send out invitations to an interview, book a slot, that type of thing. That is also a whole experience on its own. A user experience design, as in how does your interview invite look like? Is it an email? Will people be wary of clicking on links in emails? There's so much which we are still trying to dive deep into and understand. Do we present a little notification in the app when they open it? Just those specific customers. And even when you send it to 500 customers, like, it will dwindle down until actually having those. And because this group was so small, we ended up with, I think, 2 customers, customer interviews, but were they valuable? You get so much value at talking to a human, like a human, and asking about how did they feel in this process, what was their surrounding, and they would love just venting. If it was a bad experience, they would tell you. And then my laptop did this, and then this happened, and I was upset, and I tried the help center and I couldn't find it. And we also realized in the process that our help center personas don't scroll down enough in articles. They're just hovering in the top bit, and they jump off, and they're frantic. They're in the red zone, and they struggle to find the information that they need, although it is there. If they had that clear, perfect mind space that we think they have, they would have found the information that they needed. But yeah, so it is hard depending on the amount of customer conversations that get started around a specific issue. But even to good qualitative interviews is very, very valuable, especially around copy, especially if you started designing some sort of solution. So you just spoke about the bad experience, and then you present them with this wireframe or prototype, and you ask them, okay, with that in mind, would this experience have been better for you? And then that's where they give you insights around the copy, on the screens, if it offends them, because sometimes when we say, thank you, we're busy processing your information. There's one person said, well, I'm quite offended about it. It makes me feel that you are too busy for me. So just by changing the copy to thank you and thank you for your patience, and we value you as a customer, we will be in contact. That would change the whole being in a red zone and calming them down and making them feel valued.
Thank you so much, Nicole. I'll give one last minute for any last minute questions, but I think that is all we have for today. I don't see any questions coming up in chat, so I'm just going to assume that there's no more questions. But yeah, thank you so much, Nicole, for this really wonderful workshop. And yeah, thank you. And I hope everyone else is still going strong during the designathon. So